Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Bangladesh in Crisis. Throughout this series, we've been looking in depth at the situation in Bangladesh, and in tonight's programme, we analyse the country's media. Newspapers have traditionally been central to getting information, but in recent days, alternative media, such as Twitter and other social networking websites, have become key. Bloggers are providing both domestic and international observers with all the latest statistics from Bangladesh, including originally filmed video. Joining me in the studio tonight to give us a closer insight into how the media has evolved in the country is first journalist and lawyer Muffasil Islam, who is a regular blogger himself. And we're also joined in the studio by Muhammad Chowdhury from the organisation British Bangladeshi Alliance. The group was formed just 2 months ago in response to the crisis in Bangladesh and is made up of Bangladeshis living in Britain who say they want to make a positive contribution to the development of the country. Welcome to you both.
Thank you very much.
Last week, the credit agency Moody's said garment factory disasters in Bangladesh, along with frequent and increasingly violent strikes, poses risks to the country's credit rating. Street demonstrations earlier this month saw at least 29 people killed. The latest strike began this morning. With more on this, here's Yasmin Khatoon.
Today saw the start of a new 36-hour strike. The strike is being held by an 18-party alliance, including Jamaat Islami and leading opposition party, the BNP. The ongoing discontent renewed after the denial of bail for 7 top Bangladesh Nationalist Party leaders, including Acting Secretary-General, General Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir. Over the weekend, Jamaat Islami Acting Secretary-General Rafiqul Islam Khan announced the agitation programme. Protests took shape across the country on Sunday in cities including Rajshahi and Sylhet. Police used tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the protesters. There are reports of injuries with at least 1 fatality. In Rajasthani, 25-year-old Shahadat Hussain, a Chhatra Shibir activist, was killed by RAB services. Secular activists in an alternative procession said that they would continue their movement until all those being tried in the International Crimes Tribunal were handed capital punishment. The activists started demonstrating at the capital's Shahbag intersection in February after the ICT handed Abdul Qadir Mullah a life sentence. Last Thursday, another leading figure received his sentence. Kamaruzzaman was sentenced to death. In further developments, Abdul Kalam Yusuf, another leading figure from Jamaat, was detained by police in Dhaka, charged with offences during the 1971 independence struggle. In other news, 3 weeks after a building collapsed that killed more than 1,100 workers, several of the world's largest apparel companies have signed up to a legally binding plan in order to ensure improvements to the factories they used in Bangladesh. This includes Swedish retailer H&M and Spanish giants Zara. Yesterday, activists and bloggers from around the world took to social media to promote anti-government sentiment. The tweets were to raise awareness of what the activists are calling a massacre on May 5th. The tweets went viral and the topic was trending in Britain. Yasmin Khatoon, reporting for Islam Channel, Bangladesh in Crisis.
Well, we'll come on to this issue, the Twitter storm, in a minute. But first of all, let's talk about what we've just seen in that news report with the death toll from the collapsed factory now. I think we've just heard that the last body has been pulled out of the rubble, so they're not looking for any more. Muffasil, can I ask you about what this means for Bangladesh? That is this something that's come to an end now? Can they move forward from this?
Well, this is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call not only for Bangladesh, but for the global community, in fact. In fact, it's a wake-up call for Great Britain as well, wake-up call for Europe as well. Because we have to understand that Bangladesh is the largest garment exporter in the world. And if the garment industry goes down in Bangladesh, the exports from Bangladesh will go down, and the prices of garments, goods here in Britain will go up as well. And that will have a triggering domino effect in the European economy as well. To save the garment industry in Bangladesh is a concern, should be a concern for the European community as well. So there should be a policy along with the Bangladesh BGMA, the leaders of the garments owners, so that a policy can be formulated where Bangladesh hardworking garment industry can be really supported and honest labor can be rewarded. So that's the way to take it forward. And British Chamber of Commerce, British policymakers, European policymakers, along with Bangladeshi garment industrial owners. And the government and the opposition can sit together to find the correct policy to make the garment industry accountable.
But none of, aside from one corporation that we know of, none of them have said that they'll pull out of Bangladesh. They're asking for sort of reforms in the way things are handled in Bangladesh, the way factory workers are treated. Is that going to be enough?
Yes, I mean, we should not expect any major importers to pull out of Bangladesh, because that will be a suicidal not only for Bangladesh garment industry, but as I said, for the economy of the world. So they should sit down together so that there can be policies formulated where the garment industry can be made accountable, so that they can stick to the policies set by the policymakers. And if any non-compliance is there, that particular garment industry should be made accountable, and that garment industry should be stripped from the possibility of exporting anything. And the BGME, the Garments Industry Owners Association of Bangladesh, should be made accountable for this. Not only any particular garment industry, but the association of the garment owners should be made accountable, so that they can check their own garments.
Mohammed, I want to bring you into this now. Do you have something
Yes, I
to respond
think
to?
Trying to blame the garment factory owners is a scapegoat, really. I'm sure they're guilty of lots of other things and mistreating their employees. But really, Bangladesh is a sovereign state that has laws, has a judiciary, has an executive, has a government. And the government doesn't need to bend to pressures from outside, although it would help the country at times, but it needs to enforce its own laws. That building was not fit for purpose. That building, violated so many laws of Bangladesh. We're not talking about British standards here. We don't want.
So what is your organisation calling on the Bangladeshi government to do, for example?
We would like them to enforce the rule of law in Bangladesh so that there is protection. Bangladesh has laws on safety standards. What we shouldn't allow, and we shouldn't feel comfortable. I personally don't have a problem with the price of Primark clothes going up, because I don't think it should be that cheap. But putting that aside, I think the Bangladeshi government has a responsibility for weeding out the corruption that has led to the collapse of this building and the death of 1,100 plus people.
I tend to disagree with my brother here, because the thing is, yes, but you have laws, but Bangladesh has a history of having laws which are not really clean in the sense of being able to be enforced in moral grounds. But the laws are not there, to be honest. Laws are too flimsy and flexible. For example, the recent collapse in the Sabar factory, you see it's a 9-story building, and this building was owned by Mr. Rana, whatever political party he belonged to. But the highest level of punishment he can receive is a 7-year imprisonment, and he will be eligible for bail after 4.5 years. So the law is, anybody who is violating the building code, knowingly the criminal offence will take place, should be punishable with the highest punishable penalty that is possible, which it should go on to death penalty.
Okay,
sorry, can I just interrupt? Are you telling me that there was no foul play here? There was no corruption in how he managed to sustain that business?
Well, I think it's fair to say that all sides have some answers to give. Yeah. And the government of Bangladesh in particular has been accused of resorting to authoritarian tactics and conducting a major crackdown on its critics. Newspaper editors and journalists who are opposed to the government have been arrested and charged with sedition and printing material that the government deems unlawful. Yasmin Khatun has more details on how life for journalists has taken a dramatic turn.
At 7 p.m. yesterday, my Twitter feed became engulfed with tweets about Bangladesh. These tweets now comment to the current crisis the country is facing. Groups and individuals tweeting pictures and footage from the streets. Over the last few months, separate hashtags have been used around the world to fuse the conversation. The sentiment yesterday mainly anti-government, and the standing to depose the current Awami League-led regime. The rise of citizen journalism and alternative media networks, often in light of the suppression of the mainstream. According to reports, the Diganti television channel was shut down by the Bangladesh Telecommunications Regulatory Commission. Chief reporter Kamaruzzaman told local reporters that about 25 plainclothes policemen and an official from the BTRC entered our office and switched us off air. They sealed off our master control room, our production control room and our engineer's room. They told us we can't go on air until further notice. The station is thought to be allied to the opposition. The shutdown came a month after the arrest of newspaper editor Mahmudur Rahman. Mahmudur Rahman is the editor of the Amar Desh newspaper, which was behind the Skype scandal earlier in the year. After his arrest, police sealed off the daily's printing press offices and halted attempts for the paper to print elsewhere. Bloggers and activists from around the world and on both sides have taken to the stage and are ready to present their standings. Not as cautious and passionate about their cause, what sort of an effect is the alternative media having, and how does the government react? Yasmin Khatoon reporting for Islam Channel, Bangladesh in Crisis.